Well, my dear Bulas and Barrows, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It is a gloriously early Sunday morning over here from an incredibly just pitch dark Helsinki, Finland. Plenty to talk about today as we are coming into the weekly closure for Bitcoin. Of course, we've already seen CME's close for the weekends on Friday, but as always, want to follow up with spot price action as well. And oh yes, a nice little announcement. Anyways, I've seen that there's been a lot of questions with regards to how to get into the Discord. Of course, it's 100% free. It's available to anyone out there. All you have to do is figure out the very difficult process of how to get in. Now, I've actually made a video exactly on how to do that. It's the channel video for this channel, I guess. And if you are subscribed to the channel, all you do is just go to the channel homepage, and it's going to be that first video that plays in front of you. Just like a couple of things that typically fix any sort of an issue. If there is going to be an issue, usually there's not. But if you are having an issue for whatever reason, verifying yourself, it's likely due to maybe the browser or device. It would be worthwhile to either clear your cache or try a different browser, try a different device, and that's usually going to fix like 99% of the problems. Anyways, with that said, I won't go into the full rigmarole, and in the videos there for you if you so desire. Anyways, over here on the Krown application, which we found at app.krownchain.net, what do we see? We do see plenty of things today. Bitcoin dominance still hanging around 64.5%, of which we did see it come up a little bit from yesterday to today, which was kind of a surprise actually, as Bitcoin does more or less range, and that typically is a time that altcoins do get a bit of a chance to catch up. Now, they did get a nice little boost up the other day. However, Bitcoin still in the higher term timeframes in the process of moving does suggest that this is still not necessarily the time to be looking for exactly that. Looking at the open interest as well, we do see it come down actually significantly, I believe a little bit more significantly from yesterday to today, still hanging around and more importantly above the critical $2.5 billion marker, but we haven't really established a range with price action correlated with a range on the open interest as well, although we do see thus far about $2.5 billion as far as the lower limit goes, and about 2.8 billion to the top end of that limit. But again, that's not really set in stone right now. It's just a more kind of like preliminary interpretations of this. Looking at the fear and greed index, also coming down about 4 points. As Bitcoin does come down about $400, or I guess it was like $300 yesterday. No, it was actually about $400 yesterday from top to bottom, wasn't it? Anyways, looking at the data tab, what do we see? Any sort of cardinal blue jay motherfuckers in this bitch? I don't even know if there are any more birds. Fucking hate birds. Any more of these seagulls? Hey, what are you doing trading goddamn cryptos? Don't you have some fucking brownies to go steal, you goddamn seagulls? I absolutely hate those things, man. Absolutely hate those things. A fat kid's worst nightmare. Anyways, what do we see over here? We do see funny rate still hanging around 0.01%, not anything too crazy. FTX actually back up to 0.09%, which is very, very interesting right there. Wasn't expecting that at all, but still not even above 0.1%. And I'd imagine that with the majority of the players still at basically parity, or sorry, not even parity, but basically, you know, just the default from what we look at. Not really too much to make out of that as it is right now, but still, you know, always in the back of the mind's eye, we do see it essentially trending up on this, on this run as you would expect. Anyways, with that in mind, let's go over here to actual price action charts. We're going to start it off with the secondary chart today, as it is the weekly closure for CMEs. And while we already have seen this for the not for CMEs, but for spot price action, while we've already seen this, however, for CMEs, I do want to say here though, if Bitcoin were to close this weekly delta below the top side 200 band, which is significantly lower than where we are at right now, 15,150 as it stands, then yes, you know, I could be looking for a top in this run happening sooner rather than later. But as is right now, as long as we're kind of above it, you know, I still look at this as more or less likely to give a chance, another try to the upside this week. Now, does that mean that we're guaranteed new highs? Usually you will try for new highs on a signature like this, but my point is that long term we are coming into some major macro areas. So while this is kind of a setup suggesting that we probably do test back up a little bit north of $16,000, it is really cautionary times, because whether Bitcoin, you know, wants to put into a top kind of where we are right now, or maybe head up a little bit further and tag just above like $17,000, I do think that this area really is caution, or sorry, really, yeah, what's word that I've been using? Fraught with peril. Yes, there we go. That's a good one. Anyways, for reference on CMEs, we're basically at the exact same area that we marked off for the last major massive bull trap in January 2018. This is really the only area that's even relevant on the CME chart that's above our current price action. For spot, obviously, it's that same area about in the mid 16,000 bucks all the way up to low $17,000 region, and then 20,000 as well, the prior all-time high. But for right now, you can see that historically speaking, there's really not much to be going off of with that in mind. If we go over here to spot price action, and I go back onto my regular chart zone over here and we populate our drawing tools, we still do see that there was a measured move based off of this ascending triangle. It pointed northwards towards about 16.7, 16.8, and also the 2 spot extension from the last prior base as well. That does show an algo target somewhere a little bit south of 17,000 bucks as well. And then of course we do got the 2 spot 272 right above it, which kind of is like your overshot target, if you will. So we have we kind of have like layers going on right now. But before Bitcoin really put in this move, when it was still putting in this ascending triangle right here and working its way upwards and onwards, I did say that if Bitcoin does break above this level right here, technically speaking, this would be your target, yes, but the 1 spot 414 is your traditional fake out area. That is your trap area. And thus far, Bitcoin actually has, put in a somewhat convincing top right there. However, this is obviously the weekend, so I really do not like putting too much emphasis on weekend price action for that reason. The reason being that typically it's I just don't really see a high level of efficacy with it. What I do see, however, what I typically do see is if this starts to curl on over during the week, especially below that same critical 15.8 level, yes, then we're gonna have some problems, and we can talk about greater pullbacks back down below 15,000 bucks and probably beyond. But for right now, I still do kind of give the nod to another try to the upside. And what happened over Saturday is kind of like classic Bitcoin, where you see it come down, and you see it come down, rather aggressively. We saw about a move from what was it, 16.2 all the way down to 15.8. No closures below 15.8, of course. Actually, in fact, no closures even below 15.9 as far as the 4-hour time frame goes. And what I typically do see over the weekend is that you'll see like a small move kind of brought down to supports in this case right here, and then it gets bought back on up to kind of match up with CMEs on Sunday around open time, which is going to be 5 p.m. Central Standard Time for CMEs. And keep in mind that CMEs closed a week at 16,270 bucks. So I do think that it'd be a little bit uncharacteristic for Bitcoin to actually break down before then. If anything, I'd be looking for it to probably curl back around here and meet up for CMEs around that opening time, or at the very least retest that area before anything significant truly happens. And when I say anything truly significant, I mean any sort of a 4-hour closure below, again, the same area that we marked off yesterday, 15.8, or any sort of, to the upside, well, I guess any move above about 16,500, but that's actually a little bit less important because that would still be in line with the overall trends. So you can be a little bit more lenient within that regard. It's actually 100% throughout the history of CME trading. It's been 100% of the prior week's direction that typically doesn't get reverted during the weekend's price action when CMEs are not trading. So with that in mind right here, that would be cracking below about 15.8. So fair enough. And obviously wicks below, that's completely fine. It's closures below that actually change things around here. So as it stands right now, just going through the lower term time frames, see what we got. We do got 4-hour Stokes headed all the way down. Now again, 4-hour Stokes headed all the way down. Not necessarily an issue in and of its own self, especially when price action, because obviously it needs to be taken into consideration alongside price action, not just interpreted on its own. Price action has been more or less just kind of slightly down, but mostly sideways, and allowing this to more or less have what I look at as likely a bullish reset for a time frame like this. And with that in mind, I'm curious if we have any sort of trend lines come within this region. No, we don't. Or if we do, actually, it would be way the fuck on back here. And actually, yeah, technically we do. And what do you know? This area does come in right around the edge of the bearish control zone. So if it is going to have a little bit of turbulence right here, this would be the area to do it from. Not only that, matching up very, very well with historical volatility percentile. Still don't see necessarily a positive slope on the moving average here, but more importantly, we also don't see the historical volatility percentile bars above it to begin with. So it is setting up for a move relatively soon. And with momentum, in an area like that where it typically has been getting picked up over the last, how long does this go back? This goes back till Yeah, early September. Well, I'd put a little bit of weight on that, to be fair. 4-hour RSI does have some hidden bullish divergence, which I do believe is in the process of playing out right here. This whole signature going back to July, very, 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 very good. Very, 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 very constructive. If you even want to fit in a nice trend line on the current RSI structure right here, you could do that, and it does work. However, I'd be looking for maybe a little bit more sideways here, but ultimately I do think that it will pop back up and test the bullish control zone. I don't think Bitcoin's done giving up just yet. And what else do we have? Jewel, anything on there? No, it's CMEs that I'd really be keeping an eye on. Anyways, and there you go. There you fucking go. Bitcoin up about another $50 to back around 16,000. Not bad. Referencing the 3-hour right here, we already see 3-hour Stokes, nice and up and at 'em, and rejecting the bearish control zone. Good. So it is leading the 4-hour. So we can, kind of say that we can expect the 4-hour to follow through after that. On top of that, we do see 3-hour RSI, putting in basically the same signature here as well. I'll be looking for it to float a little bit more, but as long as it holds that prior low and maintains these higher low drives ever since 3rd of November right here, then what we had 7th of November right here, and then 14th of November right here. Actually, that was, well, I guess yesterday. I'd be looking for this, like I said, to just kind of float its way back upwards and onwards around to where CMEs close the week out, and then real market begins, later today or more reasonably around tomorrow's U.S. Open, which is typically what holds a bit more weight. But technically speaking, CMEs will be opened later today. Sunday, that is. If you're in the Western Hemisphere, you're probably still getting all kinds of drunk and dancing on fucking tables and having some dirty waters. Have a good time, my friends. Have a good time. But I'm over here doing. I haven't done that in a long fucking time. Jesus Christ, man. It's fun though. It's definitely fun. So I'll just vicariously live through you, and in all good. Anyways, 2-hour, we basically see the same thing over here as well. 2-hour Stokes, nice and up and at 'em here as well. We see 2-hour RSI put in that same sort of constructive behavior. Could it float back down a little bit? Yes, but as long as it maintains these higher lows here coming in from these tests inside the bearish control zone, of which the last one completely rejected it, I'd be looking for it to regain its footing. Historic volatility percentile on this time frame as well. It is in a greater contraction phase, yes, but you can see that right now it is incredibly low. So I would be looking for a spike, but still for the longer term contraction phase to kind of play out, which does likely correlate with the move to probably the top side or the bottom side of the short-term range. Once again, in this case, the short-term range is going to be 16.3 to the upside and 15.8 to the downside. Funnily enough, we have a short-term range of fucking $500, which is kind of insane, but that's the beauty of Bitcoin right now, to be fair. Anyways, what else do we have to make out here? I think we've kind of beat this horse to death. Let's go over here to the hourly and see what it's doing as well. Hourly Stokes coming down for the moment. So we do see a little bit of bifurcation. We also do, you can just kind of visualize the trend line right there as well. But more importantly, what does that align with? A little bit of sideways action, I'd imagine. Maybe even test back down to 15.8. I really wouldn't mind another test back down to 15.8. The only way that my opinion really changes here is with any sort of a closure below 15.8. And even then, you could argue that realistically the critical zone would be 15.650. That's going to be the, hold on, let's actually make sure that lines up with the 4-hour. Yeah, it lines up a little bit with the 4-hour, but it should actually be on the daily. Yeah, the daily structure would be, 15.650 is your last kind of, would be your left shoulder, your last prior high right here. So as long as you're above that, still okay. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself right now. And more importantly, just want to show that the ranges are a little bit variable here. Hourly historical volatility percentile incredibly low. I do think that we are going to see a move to one of the sides of the ranges today. Again, that would be 15.8 to the downside, or 16.3 to the upside. Maybe it's more like 16.2. 16.2 would be a more easy target, obviously. 16.3, I do feel a little bit more strongly about, to be fair. But in this case right here, with momentum oscillators kind of being combined, I'd essentially be looking for that to likely come with the test to the upside. Could it come first with maybe a quick wick to the downside and then get spot back up for, one of those good old Bart's moves, the Borts? Well, could be yes. Anyways, as it stands right now, I need to take another sip of this water because I am motherfucking thirsty right now. Oh, there we go. Oh, forgot to also make some more announcements. Well, fuck it. Doesn't matter. I'll be doing Twitch this week. I'm really excited about it. Just got my virtual reality trading desk set up, and it is everything that I've ever wanted in the future and more. I can just live there now. Anyways, hourly RSI, I wouldn't really make much out of this. It's fucking hourly. A little bit of hidden bearish divergence, but I would say that that's probably played out already from 16.1 all the way down to 15.9, $200 move from an hourly signal. It's kind of a lot, kind of a lot. So fair enough. Anyways, moving on to the medium-term time frames, what do we got here? Yeah, 12-hour, again, still above all major moving averages. My rule is I can't hate a chart like this as it is. And yes, I probably would be looking for a move back up somewhere around 16.3, give or take like $50, we'll call it. Looking at 12-hour Stokes, though, well, we got a bit of a problem here. And of course, I want to mark off this same regression that we've been looking at going all the way back to early September, getting all of the lows throughout this whole rally here. You know, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and more recently in this area right here. Now this trend line does look like it's probably going to get tested again, and I feel like everyone has to kind of like hold their breath during this time, because when things do get this wound up, it's not very likely that it continues on. I mean, you know, you can even visualize like this. First trend lines like this, then it gets more aggressive, 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 and then at some point it is going to burst. Yes, and the more aggressive that it does get over time, the bursting is going to be presumably a bigger case. You know, if you're familiar with Wyckoff terms, it's going to be, you know, I believe that's called building a case, and that or building a cause which leads to a greater effect. Or I think that's the terminology that they use. I'm not a huge Wyckoff person, although I do respect it a lot, actually. But in this case right here, this would be a pretty damn big case being built. So, you know, if you're looking for that big bad pullback, I do think that we're going to be getting that relatively soon. So I need to be very careful with my language right now, because while I do think that Bitcoin is more or less likely to, you know, give another try to the prior high on this run, I should say, or maybe a little bit higher and go for the full on measure move, like around 17,000, we'll call it. I do think that this area is mostly a cautionary tale. I do think that it's time to really be setting up for potentially, a big pullback, big time pullback here. Anyways, looking at 12-hour, what do we see? We had a little bit of 12-hour bearish divergence. I'd argue that, you know, a good amount of that's probably played out from 16.5 all the way down to 15.8. So what, $700 move, not bad. 12-hour Jewel is lining up for a pretty fucking good sell signal. Now I really do want to see this on CMEs as well. Shit, it's getting close there. It will line up this week. I don't think it can go too much more without lining up and like really playing out a signal here. But it is there, you know, yes, technically speaking, this is a perfect Jewel sell signal. But because it is happening on a weekend, I would say that is unlikely to play out in the way that it is really designed. What you're probably going to find is it's probably going to trade a little bit more, you know, sideways here, maybe dip down a little bit and make you think it's playing out initially, and then it'll pop back up and line up for yet again another perfect one. Hopefully that would come during the week, which I guess it would inevitably be happening at this point, because the week is coming up, whether you like it or not. And then I'd be looking for it to play that signal from a little bit of a higher level here. So again, I'd say, I don't want to say don't be fooled by what spot price action is showing you there if you have access to the Jewel. It's just very rarely, almost never, do I see signals like that play out over a weekend. It usually leads into the CMEs, which then play out a signal during the trading week. And as you can see right here, CMEs are there. They're very, 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 very close. Very fucking close. But it's at least going to take one more tick, and preferably like 3 to 4 to get like the full on like perfect signal, which that's the one that I'm really, really interested in. So with that in mind, you know, as it is right now, yeah, I'd probably give a little bit of a nod to another swipe to the upside, somewhere around 16.2 to 16.3. Same shit that I said yesterday, basically. And then trading week begins tomorrow, or I guess a little bit later today, if you want to be super fair with it. Anyways, going on to do we have anything more on the 12-hour here? Yeah, 12-hour historical volatility percentile really contracting heavily now, and as this does come down, especially into the teens, I'd start to, you know, aligning that up with the Jewel potential signal coming relatively soon. You can start to see that big move is brewing here. A very, very big move is brewing. A very big case is being built right now. Daily is getting it's actually having its first, that might even be below the moving average on this, and the moving average has massively lost its slope here too. Again, I still think it has maybe one more swipe, just one more swipe. Just give me one more swipe, baby. And then probably coming down rather aggressively. I saw this earlier, but it looks like it's actually not on the cards right now, because Bitcoin just played out a bit of a rally rally, and I'm using conservative settings right now for my caretaker RSI. But what you will likely notice if Bitcoin comes back down maybe below like 15.8 or 15, or sorry, not 15.8, but like 15.950, we'll call it, is it will start to show a little bit of divergence here. But again, that is only with a closure on today's daily. Looking at daily Stokes, technically still to the upside. Again, pretty fucking crazy here. Very similar to the 12-hour. I basically have the same thing to say about that, except it's a daily, so it matters even more. And then of course we got daily Jewel as well here. This one's going to be lining up for a perfect sell signal this week, maybe even tomorrow. It actually might even happen tomorrow. But if I go over here and look at CMEs, you can see that it'd still take, for the daily to really line up, we really need to see maybe somewhere right around here, which would be 24th, or 23rd, 24th, 25th of November. So that would actually still be like a week out. Now the daily signal is unlikely to get the ultimate high on this run. What it's likely to get is the momentous drive, and it has pretty damn good history of actually calling the major highs and major lows, but it's not going to get the high or the low. It's going to get the momentous drive, and typically use either the 4-hour or the 12-hour to get the actual high, so to speak. So in this case here, it's probably going to be the 12-hour that gets the actual high, and then the daily that gets the momentous drive after that. So it'll be a bit of a timing thing, and what you'll probably see is, the high being put in, then Bitcoin ranges for a bit, and then it has like a pretty nasty dooms drop, if I had to guess. Now, of course, can Krown be wrong about all of this? Yes, of course. I mean, as always, a dumb bull will make more money than anyone in a bull market, of course. But as a trader, I have rules, because not all markets are fucking bullish, and a lot of the times things range more than anything else. So with that in mind, how would you know if Bitcoin starts closing weeklies, especially above like $17,000? And yeah, I'd be looking for moves towards probably $20,000 and maybe even beyond there. But for right now, I do start to look at this area as, it's like I said, it's a cautionary area. So we'll go through the whole rigmarole right now. I'll try to do a decent amount of depth here, so that I can just reference this video in the future, and might even have Elsa kind of cut this segment out. But yes, looking at this area right here, obviously there are a lot of things coming in line with it. First and foremost, we do see that the 236 fib retracement here from the ultimate high to the ultimate low of this whole last 3-year cycle. Pretty big fucking deal. That is going to be a nice little algo target right there, and of course it's correlated exactly with your major massive bull trap in January 2018. This area is relevant for 2 major regions. First and foremost, it was the first time that we actually had a reversal on the weekly. And by the way, anytime that you've had a reversal on the weekly, those have been the easiest long-term trades in Bitcoin's history, bar none, for fucking ever. Doesn't matter how many indicators that you have, doesn't matter how much fucking math you're doing, doesn't matter whatever the fuck you're saying. Just knowing this one simple thing, and that sounds like a goddamn sales pitch, but literally anyone can learn this within like a week. You don't need to buy a program, you don't need to buy anything. You just need to learn how to identify higher highs and higher lows, which is pretty simple. Then yes, this was the first time that we actually got a reversal right here. And of course, what happens after that? Well, the next piece price action, which brought it down about 65% over the course of the next month and a half. So that's a pretty fucking big deal right there, and likely will beget some interest from some sellers within this region. Not only that, but if we go back down to the lower term timeframes on the prior chart, of course, we have all these measured moves that we were looking at yesterday, or sorry, not yesterday, but well, I guess maybe yesterday, but this past week or two, that were pointed up from this ascending triangle right here towards about 16.8 to 17,000. That's also going to be the 2-spot extension right here. We also do have the 2-spot 272 algo target right overhead about 17.3, and that's obviously all matched up with what we just spoke about, as those numbers are mostly all the same, coming within about $100 to $200 of each other. And then on top of that, if we go over here and we go to our we go to our Trollinger bands, look at the daily. Where's the top side Trollinger band coming in around? Just under $17,000 actually. It's exactly where the 2-spot extension was on those fibs, by the way. 12 hours is going to show it a little bit lower, obviously, but that's not going to be getting it exactly where it is right now. And then maybe the 2 days is going to be relevant here too. And what do you know? 2 days showing 16,850. On top of that, I imagine CMEs probably have something relatively similar. Yes, indeed. We do see that CMEs show that same sort of top side at the 16,850-ish region, which is also synonymous with, and I've already kind of done this and explained this one, but that same sort of major pivot point that we see from January 2018 as well. So all of these areas, or sorry, all of these levels do kind of coincide with each other. Major fibs, major fib extensions, formations, and of course measure moves, and then just historical price action. All of those coincide, and I would be looking at this area as as a nice area to kind of be looking for potentially a major pullback. Now we'll take it one step further here, and remember that anytime that we've seen this signature on Bitcoin, where we do have a weekly dildo closing above the top side trolling band, it's basically produced something relatively similar over the history of time, except for this one right here. Except I could also make a strong argument that that was just not a good signal to begin with. So we have this one right here, gets its first closure above, boom, next move is about 60% to the upside, and then it closed below. That's your next correction, and then does the same thing if about a couple weeks later, and that's your next 42.5% move, right? Then we have several examples over here in 2015 going all the way to 2018 as well. We got this first one. This one's going to be a pretty big one, 60%, big wick right there, and then almost immediately after that, after it does correct, you get another 27% move to the upside. Over here, we get a 50% move to the upside on signal given, and over here we get about a 30% move to the upside after signal given. Over here we get about a 17% move to the upside after signal given. Over here we get a 100% move almost after the signal given. Then we get a 32.5% move after signal given over here. And then another like 20.5% move right there, and then the fucking blast off for the parabolic high. Anyways, so you can kind of come up with somewhat of a general response given that signal, and it's usually somewhere to the tune of like 20 to 40%, we'll call it, average about 30%. And what do you know? Since we've got this signal over here on in middle of October, Bitcoin's done just under 30% actually, 29.5%. By the way, if we would extend that to the $17,000 just regular area, that would be just over 30%, of course. So, or sorry, not just over 30%. It'd actually be 32 and a quarter percent. So pretty damn big right there. That is relevant. Not only that, but or actually, do I want to explain that part next or not? Well, okay, fair enough. So yes, we typically do see around that before the correction comes, and so I do think that is relevant to be looking at. I do see a lot of. I also do see a big meme going around now too, saying that everyone's looking for like 12,000 or 11,500, whatever it might be. I think that those areas are relevant, yes, but I don't know. How do you judge that everyone's looking at that? Remember, we're all in our same fucking wind tunnels or echo chambers, whatever you want to call it, where just things get repeated and parroted around. But does that really represent everyone? I don't know. I think that would be a very naive way of looking at it. But we always tend to think that like people that we don't like are everyone, and if we just do the opposite of them, then we'll be doing the right thing, because that's just common knowledge apparently. No, that's actually very, very silly, and we have no real way of knowing that. And if anything, going back and referencing the Krown chain app over here, of course, what's the one thing that we can actually document is the fear and greed index, and right now that's an 86. So that actually say that people are, rather bullish right here, or rather greedy. So historically speaking, that actually has, been pretty damn relevant. So my point is that a lot of this does kind of coincide with each other, and I do think that I do think that it's silly things like that. They're very difficult to back up, and it just kind of sounds good because it makes you feel good about yourself. But just as with most people talking shit about other people, especially online, it's for the process of making themselves feel good about themselves rather than like actually doing something with their life, right? I mean, that's the whole YouTube. That's in a lot of ways the YouTube economy. It's just making you pissed off enough so that you actually like watch a fucking video. You have to watch this. You have to watch this movie. I was watching it last night, The Social Dilemma. It's great. It's fucking beautiful. But basically, that's how these algos and whatnot are kind of programmed, because they know that if they make you stay on their platform longer and longer, well, they make more money. And how do they make you stay on their platform longer and longer? Well, they've developed the most sophisticated quantitative analysis to figure out what exactly causes people to stay on and give their attention to their platforms. And you know what it is? Manufactured fucking rage. So when next time before you click on the next video that's being presented to you, really think about it. Am I being manipulated here to just feel like shit for the purpose of making someone else money when it doesn't even really concern my life to begin with? There you go. There's also people just with mental illness too who they just can't help themselves. So fair enough. And some people just enjoy that. So, fair enough, to each their own. But I do think that an awareness of that fact is actually really, 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 really important. And I would strongly recommend watching that documentary. It was phenomenal. Anyways, okay, what else do we want to talk about here, or while we are here? Yeah, so basing targets, I do think that 12,000 is would certainly be on the cards. Anywhere around there would make sense. If technically everyone is thinking that 12,000, then what's likely to happen? Either gets front ran or gets overshot. What do I have a strong opinion on? Neither of the two, but one of them very likely will happen, and all you'll kind of know is in the moment. You can see the last prior runs do love to play off the 20 simple or the 21 exponential moving average, basically one and the same, especially on a time frame like this. But during your bullish dumps, it does like to kind of find its lows on this area right here. Same thing on its bearish pumps in your bear markets over here. But where that be coming in around about 11,500 as it is right now, and it's rising about $300 to $500 every week. So it will be 12,000 next week. But here's the thing, even on these, even on these short-term reversals, we do see that it takes typically a while for it to actually play out and base out before the next move and consolidation to the upside once again. And in this case right here, it takes after top was given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. I mean, that's basically 2 months. Over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's 2 months again. This one over here, 1, 2, 3. This one over here, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1. 1. This one's pretty fast. But you get my point. It's not going to happen today or tomorrow. It's going to happen over the course of like a month or two, and it's going to bore the shit out of you afterwards as well. You're probably going to get one of those, long form consolidations, like see right here, 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 like see right here. I mean, this is pretty much par for the course on Bitcoin. And while, past history is not always indicative of future results, I do think that it does hold quite a bit of weight here, to be fair. And we have seen a lot of these things kind of, be true to the past as well. And of course, I would also want to be on record as saying, while I do think that Bitcoin probably does put in, a long-term top relatively soon, whether it be where we are exactly right now, whether it goes up another $1,000 to 17,000, or maybe even it makes a run for 19,000 before it actually does something like that. I would be looking, I still would be looking for anywhere within this region essentially. And just like we do have, data for historical moves to the upside, we do have it for the moves to the downside as well. You can measure all these moves to the downside right here, and you'll notice that you got a 40% move right there, you got a 26% move right there, you got a 43% move right there, got a 39% move right there, you got a 37.25% move right there. I don't want to do all these, but 40% move right there. You get where I'm going with this once again. And more importantly, where that put us down around, if we were to shave off, 30 to 40% from $17,000, 30% puts you right around $12,000. 40%, would obviously be a deeper retracement. Hey, fucker, get the hell out over here. And that'd put you down around actually like 10,500 about, it looks like. So fair enough. Ranges are going to be big here. We're dealing with big numbers, of course, but I do think that patience on this next segment over the next 3, maybe 4 months is probably going to be required. As this whole thing sets up. So kind of like putting all the puzzle pieces together right now. Short term, I'm actually a little bit of bullish here. I'd probably be looking for another move back up towards like 16.2 or 16.3. Same shit as yesterday, basically. And then, does Bitcoin make a new high on this, this week? I think that it would be likely if we do see the weekly closure anywhere above the top side Trollinger Band, which again, for reference, is 15,150. We already saw the same thing on CME, so I'd say that's rather likely. The only way that I'd immediately look for that greater pullback coming from where we are right now in comparison to maybe trying a little bit higher this week is if Bitcoin closes below that pivot 15,150 once again. What else do we have to look at? Have I spoken my head off to death? Let's go look at Caretaker's new do over here. This thing has been fucking money for me. I absolutely love it. I've only been using it for 3 days now too, and that's against my own rules. I like to test things for about 2 weeks before I really start to talk about them on screen. But I can't ignore the results that I've been getting with this recently. It's just fucking plain works. But I'm trying, I'm putting it in more dynamic situations. I even traded with it yesterday. I never trade over the fucking weekends. I never ever trade over the weekends. But I took this trade yesterday, 15.9 tick right here, and then I believe this one as well. Both for some nice, $100 plus rallies. I guess was it this one? No, it must have been a little bit further. No, it must have been further back because it was this area right here. 15.850 was my buy, and then 15.800 was also my buy. Yeah, okay, there we go. So yeah, it's this area right here and this area right here. Yeah, 5 minutes deceptively fast, but you get my point. Anyways, I'll be doing more and more stuff on it soon enough. I'll be showing it more often in the Twitch streams, because I do think that this one really needs to be seen in real time, because it moves fast. It moves very, very fast, and I'm like trying to make it not work by going on to extremely low time frames over the weekend. Doing stuff that is typically very much against my own rules. I still find that it's passing my fucking torture test, and I actually don't like it, because then what sort of excuse am I going to use to not play the game over a weekend? I guess I'll just have to have like some discipline, I suppose, in my life. Jesus, man. All right, well, let's go check out Link really quick. Link, what are we looking at here? I still like it over the long period. It's going to do whatever Bitcoin does. Weekly closure here or higher, and I'm basically looking for this one to trudge its way onwards and upwards for the next like month or so. Mr. Butyrol, what are you? Or actually, let's see. Can we find anything bearish with this? Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't take too much to get this baby back down to about 11.5, but I'd be looking for a bounce there. That's only short term though. It doesn't really add up to the weekly, unfortunately. So it doesn't really give us all that much. Below like 11.5, yeah, then I could get bearish, but not really right now. What about Mr. Butyrol? What do we got over here? Mr. Butyrol at 460, hanging it high as well. Daily, I'm sure there's some bearish divergence forming here too. There would be 1-2, but we have not confirmed a local high as it is just yet. Caretaker has correctly identified that. How the fuck does he do that? I have no idea. But he does it, and it's more or less magic to me. Looking at daily Stokes, still up here. Oh, Jesus, man. I do think that this one likely has another move to the upside, probably in line with Bitcoin. Again, tentative areas of interest are going to be about anywhere around about $500. We do see weekly Stokes still nice and north. Actually rejected getting out of the bullish control zone as of a few weeks ago, and still looking good here. Weekly RSI, more importantly, looking very, very strong as well. Extremely constructive behavior going all the way back to May 2017. This is all one major consolidation, similar to Bitcoin the last 3 years, just one major consolidation. And while I could see a little bit of downside here, overall, this one very likely will move its way higher. So I do still think Mr. Butyrol 500, probably even above there over time. Historic volatility percentile, by the way, on the weekly. There you go, baby. A 1 read as it essentially continues to new highs on this run, and is just on the verge of closing on a new high here. I'd be looking for some more upside overall. Short term though, does it have another move back down to like 430 before then? I don't have a strong opinion on that. I really don't. As long as it's above 430 though, that's my strong opinion. I am bullish on this one, looking for $500 to be hit as long as we're closing daily dodos, especially above 430. Even weekly is probably good enough too at 435. Is that it for altcoins? I don't really want to be looking at shitcoins today. I don't really have the stamina for it, and this video is already 37 minutes long. Let's go back to Bitcoin and wrap this bitch up and send you off. So again, looking at this right here, kind of in line with where CME's closed on Friday, 16,270-ish region. I probably would be looking for Bitcoin to trade a little bit of sideways and then pop back up. Test somewhere around 16.2 to 16.3-ish region and set it up for the real week of trade. The key critical things, of course, are the weekly closure for spot price action. If it does meet the criteria that we set out earlier, probably would be looking for, at the very least, another try at the prior high of this run, and probably does reach for maybe even a slightly higher high. But like we said, all this area right here is kind of a big deal right now, and I would be very cautious anywhere in the upper $16,000 region, and maybe even low $17,000 region as well. Who knows where this thing ends up when it gets volatile, as you probably have guessed. Of course, I would get bearish medium term if Bitcoin does break break below 15.8. If Bitcoin does break below 15.8, I would look for short-term targets down to 15.4 to be initiated, plus a bounce there. But ultimately, I would be looking for Bitcoin to come back down and base around about 14.7 or a little bit below there. And on top of that, for right now, as long as it's above 15.8, I'm basically short-term, medium-term, and I suppose still long-term bullish, but caution soon. And if and if not where we are right now, I do think a little bit higher. Again, depending upon the weekly closure, which, by the way, we've already seen for CMEs, which already have it, and that's probably going to lead it into anyways. But just for closure's sake, I would still wait on that, and we probably have a big week ahead of us. So, with that in mind, I'd like to wish you the best once again. Take care, and until next time.